So then after that, actually, that same year that the X-Files ended, I was offered the Spider-Man Sunday pages. So I was just doing the Sunday strip as far as comic books went, and then I got back into some storyboarding for advertising agencies, etc. And which eventually led to me doing some storyboarding for some major motion pictures. Okay.
Like what?
Well, let's see. I actually did storyboards for a couple that were never filmed, so I don't have to even talk about those. But I guess, first of all, I'll have to say out of the 4 that I storyboarded, 3 of them were filmed in Florida where I live.
Nice.
So because I had, I guess, let's say a connection with some agencies in Orlando, I was able to get the job. I haven't had an agent in Orlando get me the job on working some of these movies. One of the first one was called Lonely Hearts, was an independent crime noir thriller set in the late 40s, early 50s, based on a true story. Starred John Travolta and James Gandolfini. And even though I lived in the Daytona Beach area, that was filmed in Jacksonville. So I stayed up there for about 3 weeks doing storyboards with the director. And Salma Hayek was in it, and Jared Leto. And
that's a perk.
Yeah. Kate Beckinsale was actually supposed to play the role, but she was, I guess, doing still wrapping up one of the Underworld movies at that time, so she couldn't get off the set in order to get there to do that particular movie. And second one I worked on was filmed in Fort Lauderdale, Florida, and I guess I got that through the director of the second one was a friend of the director of the first one, so I got a recommendation.
Tell who you know.
Yeah. The first one was directed by Todd Robinson and called Lonely Hearts, as I said, and the second one was called Hoot, and that was directed by Will Schreiner, the comedian. So Who was kind of a, if you will, let's say a Disney type of a story where you've got these kids, they're worried about, these little owls that were living in the ground and the big construction companies coming in and they want to ravage the land to put up the big mall or something like that. So that one actually was, I think, the breakout role for an actor named Logan Lerman, who went on to do Percy Jackson and the Olympians.
There's talk of him being Peter Parker in the reboot.
At one time, right. And he also did Three Musketeers recently, etc. And then the third film, I actually had to go away from home, and I was in Baton Rouge, Louisiana. Again, this came by recommendation. A movie called The Reaping with Hilary Swank.
Okay. I saw that one.
Yeah, Idris Elba and a few other notables, I guess, in the movie. There was a part played by David Morrissey, who has gone on to do a lot of other productions. I think he even played Doctor Who once in the BBC. Okay. And he's actually going to be on The Walking Dead coming up in the third season.
Nice.
And but I think before David Morrissey landed that role, they were trying to get Matthew McConaughey to play that particular part because he was a local, and it was shot in Baton Rouge because it was being done in Louisiana. So
David Morrissey is going to be the governor, or the main bad guy,
yes,
in season 3.
Exactly. And so I got to meet him. He was a really nice guy. Everybody was nice on the production, and that was the biggest movie I worked on. It was a Warner Brothers Dark Castle production. And unfortunately, the thing that I have to remember about that movie also is that we were there when that Hurricane Katrina came into New Orleans. And so since we're only about an hour away, and of course there's evacuations going on all over, literally the entire film crew was flown out from Baton Rouge. They basically rented an airliner, and they flew us out to Austin, Texas to stay there for a week to see if we were even going to go back to keep with the production. But even though Baton Rouge, I won't say it was unscathed, they wanted us back to keep on working because they know that they needed now the economy that we were bringing in. I mean, I should say that to bolster the economy. They couldn't afford to lose that income. And then after that movie was made, the last one I did was called Never Back Down. Okay. Starred Sean Farris and this young up-and-coming guy also named Cam Gigande, who also went into the Twilight movies. He was in Priest. He's done a whole bunch of things. And Jaimin Hunsu, notable actor.
You're getting these names right. That's very.
Oh.
I couldn't spell it.
Well, actually, they called him Jaimin, but I think it's actually Jimon.
Oh, there you go.
And but nobody was, the American guys have to John Wayne it a little bit, So, and that was kind of like a high school fight club type of movie shot in Orlando. And since then, I haven't done any more films, but every now and then there's talks about doing something, but haven't come through yet.
Talk about the newspaper strip How do you get a script from Stan, and you start penciling, or how does it work?
Yeah, with Stan up at Marvel Comics, generally always he was the one who initiated the so-called Marvel style, where the writer and the artist work together, where the writer basically gives you a plot, whether it's a paragraph or a 5-page narrative, or it's broken down page by page, literally in paragraph form, giving you the crux of what the story is about, what's happening on each page, and leaving it up to the artist to decide how many panels are needed to tell that story. Okay. Now with the DC style at that time was to work from a full script. Now with the Sunday scripts, I guess it's more economical time-wise for him to actually write the script. So I get a six-panel script, 2 pages, 2 weeks in a row usually, with the art directions and the dialogue, and so I work off a full script.
And how do you work with his brother Larry? What's his?
Well, Larry still has been penciling the daily strips now for probably about 25 years himself, and I came on to replace John Tartaglione as the regular inker back in late 2003, after John unfortunately passed away due to a serious illness. I had filled in for John earlier in the year when he had to go to the hospital at one point. They liked what I did, and I gave them the offer, listen, if you liked what I did, if John ever needs a vacation or one of those things, or if something comes up, just please feel free to call me again. And then, unfortunately, when the bad news came, they asked me if I'd want to do it. So, of course, I jumped at the chance. It was a lot of fun, and, well, I'm a freelancer, and I have to continue working.
How long does it take you to do a Sunday strip and ink the dailies?
Well, I'd say with the Sunday strip, generally it takes me about 2 hours to lay out one page. Then it'll take me roughly about 2 hours to 3 hours to finish tightening up the page, depending, and when I say the extra hour, depending upon the details, backgrounds. Sometimes he's got to still be swinging over Manhattan, and I got to draw those buildings, okay? And with the dailies, it takes me, I have 6 dailies, obviously. I usually do that over the course of a day. About 8 hours takes care of inking the dailies. Then after I ink them, obviously I have to clean them up. I scan them in the computer, and I send them off, send the scans off to a company called Reed Brennan Media Associates in Orlando. They call it a pagination company. They work for King Features to put all the strips together.
To tie it all in, what's it like working, 50 years later after you bought that first Amazing 5 off the stand, and now you're working with the guy who wrote the book? I mean, it's amazing. He's 90 years old. He's got more energy than me and you put together.
Stan doesn't want to hear this interview yet because he'll be 90 in December. Just to clarify that for everybody out there. Working with Stan is a dream. It's a dream come true, actually working with so many of these guys. I mean, Joe Sinnott inks the Sundays. He's 85. I've been working with him for 15 years. It's been such a pleasure to work with one of my idols. Stan's one of my idols. To call these people my colleagues is really a lot of fun and an honor, actually. So I'm going to be 60 years old in another week, and I still feel like a fanboy at heart. So it's pretty cool. Yeah, I can imagine making more money, but I can't imagine doing anything else.
Talk about 25 years of Spider-Man. He's been with you. The character is probably like a member of the family, isn't he? I mean, you've been with him so long.
You know what? I've never had him over for dinner for the holidays. Just can't seem to get a hold of him when I need to. But yeah, it's part of me. Yeah, I mean, of course. You can, when you talk to certain people and they say, well, what could you draw? I said, I can draw everybody, but what are you known for? Well, I've been drawing Spider-Man for 25 years. That's my, I'd say, big claim to fame, and it's definitely nothing to sneeze at.
And this divides the fanboys, so I want to get your 2 cents on it. Since you said you're a fanboy at heart, you draw a married Spider-Man with Mary Jane.
Yes.
In the books, in the comics, he's single, he's made a deal with the devil.
Yes.
Etc. Your 2 cents on that.
Well, put it this way. If Peter Parker made a deal with the devil and he didn't get any money out of it, it was the wrong deal. He needed a better agent, and that's about all I'm going to say about it.
I would agree.